Coming up, the Titans and Chiefs meet up in primetime, and the Cardinals are going to try to upset the division-leading Seahawks. This is Locked On Game to Game NFL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NFL, local experts taking you from game to game in week 9 of the NFL season. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. We are here to preview those matchups for you. We're going to start out with the Eagles, who moved up to 8-0 with a win over the Texans last week, scoring a touchdown in every quarter in Texas. Locked On Eagles goes over the latest win for Philly.
Well, it didn't come easy for the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night, but a win is a win. They get the victory 29-17 over the 1-5-1 Houston Texans to start the season 8-0 for the first time in franchise history. I'm Louis DiBiase, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. The Texans were in it for a while. They were up 7-0 after scoring on their first drive. Heading into halftime, the game was tied at 14 apiece. Rookie Texans running back Dameon Pierce gave the Eagles defense fits all game long, 139 yards on the ground, 5.1 yards per carry. But the Eagles showed eventually they were the superior, by far the more talented team. I thought the poise of the offense really was the name of the game, especially from quarterback Jalen Hurts, finishing this game with a 76.9% completion percentage, over 200 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns. Dominant from inside the pocket. His accuracy, the ball placement, the decision-making, again, the overall poise in this football game was truly elite. He got everybody involved as well. Dallas Goedert, 8 catches, for 100 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown gets in the end zone. Quez Watkins was making plays. And then on the ground, Miles Sanders dominated with 93 yards and a touchdown. The offense was not the issue. They moved up and down the field all game long. It was really, again, just the run defense that had issues. But overall, the defense was opportunistic. 2 interceptions today from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and James Bradbury in big moments. And how about 3 sacks from Javon Hargrave? He has 5 sacks now in the last 2 games, really heating up, and that's going to be big because the Eagles are definitely missing rookie defensive tackle Jordan Davis. A win's a win. They'll take it. They're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. Up next, the Washington Commanders next Monday night. I'm Louis DiBiase. This is Locked On Eagles. The Eagles take it on Thursday Night Football over the Houston Texans, 29-17.
The Titans are on a 5-game win streak, and the Chiefs offense looks like it could be back after putting up 44 last week. Locked On Titans previews the matchup on Sunday night.
The Tennessee Titans must create multiple turnovers if they want to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. My name's Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans podcast. The key to victory for the Titans in Week 9 is simple. Cause havoc in the backfield and turn that havoc into turnovers. The Titans offense is not going to be able to keep pace with Kansas City. The Titans defense must step up. The defensive line led by Jeffrey Simmons, who may be playing the best football in the entire NFL right now. The Titans D-line has to get pressure on Pat Mahomes, force him to make bad throws that could turn into interceptions or knock the ball out of his hands to create fumbles. Not only is that going to prevent a Kansas City #1 offense from scoring a bunch of points, which the Titans simply can't match, but it also gives the Titans offense short field opportunities to give them a little bit of help to allow the worst offense in the NFL to score. So the only way that the worst offense in the NFL can beat the best offense in the NFL is for the Titans defense to take the ball away from Kansas City and give it to the Titans with easy chances to score. For more analysis, check out the Locked On Titans podcast on whatever platform you do stream. Locked On Titans, it's your team every day.
The Carolina Panthers have found a way to put up points the last 2 weeks, despite trading away Christian McCaffrey and switching quarterbacks midseason, a whole bunch of other changes as well. Carolina will have a test this weekend against the Bengals in Cincinnati. Locked On Panthers tells you what needs to happen if they want to get a win.
The Carolina Panthers need to get after Joe Burrow if they're going to win Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati. Hi, I'm Julian Council, host of the Locked On Panthers podcast. And Let's be honest. The Carolina Panthers pass rush has been lousy this year. Right now, the ESPN's pass rush win rate, they rank 20th in the league, but only have 12 sacks in the NFL. 5 of those from Brian Burns. Not good at all, as they're 30th in the league right now in sacks. And guys like Marquise Haynes, who they hoped would be able to help alleviate the loss of Hassan Reddick to Philadelphia, have 0 sacks. And Etor Gross-Matos, a half a sack so far this season. The Carolina Panthers need to get after Joe Burrow, who leads the NFL in passing yardage, and they can do it because the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line is still terrible. They spent a ton of money this offseason to try and fix it. And unlike Carolina, they haven't done a great job, as they've given up the second most sacks so far through 8 weeks of the NFL season. So if the Panthers want to win, they need to put Joe Burrow on his back all day long. For more on your Carolina Panthers and this weekend's big matchup, be sure to check out the Locked On Panthers podcast every Monday through Thursday, free and available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Colts officially giving the reins to Sam Ehlinger. His second start this week going to be against Bill Belichick's Patriots defense, which isn't usually a recipe for success. Now, Locked On Colts tells us how Indy can get a win with its young quarterback.
For the Indianapolis Colts this week against the New England Patriots, it's all about finding an identity on offense. This is Jake Arthur of the Locked On Colts podcast. The Colts have really struggled to find out who they are this season, especially on the offensive side of the ball. As of Tuesday, coordinator Marcus Brady is gone, and now running back Nyheim Hines is gone as well. We don't really know the extent of Brady's influence on the offense because it's Frank Reich that calls the plays on game days. But we do know what Hines can do, and it's something that the Colts will miss, particularly in the passing game. He ranks 6th in the NFL since he came in 2018 in receptions by running backs, so that's a lot to replace. If Jonathan Taylor remains out with his ankle injury, then Deion Jackson may be forced to try and be Superman. Patriots head coach Bill Belichick and his defense has a way of taking away whatever you do best. So assuming that he can do that against this Colts offense, what are they left with? What can they do and turn to when they're forced to readapt? Whether Jonathan Taylor plays or not, can they run the ball? Will the Patriots bracket Michael Pittman Jr. and take him away, which leaves Sam Ehlinger with Alec Pierce, Paris Campbell, and the tight ends to rely on? We'll see on Sunday afternoon. Thanks for checking in. We'll have much more on Locked On Colts this week. Check us out every Monday through Friday. It's free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Coming up, the Falcons and Chargers both need a win to hold ground in their divisions. This is Locked On Game to Game NFL. We are going to take a quick pause to talk about one of our sponsors, Built Bar. They are the best tasting protein bars on the market. They are good for you, but they're also made with 100% real chocolate. They have a ton of new different flavors. Some of the newest ones, cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, and coconut brownie topper. Definitely want to check those out. And of course, because all of these bars are so good for you, you don't have to feel guilty about eating them, especially with the holiday season coming around. These are a great snack item for you. If you head over to built.com, you can use our promo code to get 15% off of your order. Just put Locked On 15 into your order code for 15% off of your order at built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game NFL. I'm Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Jaguars and Raiders both need to go on huge winning streaks to turn things around this season and even be watchable at this point. Locked On Jags tells you how Jacksonville can snap its 5-game losing streak against Vegas.
If the Jags are going to win this week, it's going to take a change of approach. I'm Tony Wiggins, your host of Locked On Jaguars Daily Podcast. The Jaguars have lost 6 games, all 6 of their losses, by 1 score or less. That's right. They have a plus 12 differential in scoring, and they've lost 6 of 8 games. If they're going to change, we've been saying they need to find a way to win, find a way to win. Nope. They need to create a win. They need to create a way. Create a way to win. Make the win, go snatch the win. Don't sit and wait for it, because if you wait for it, bad things are going to continue to happen. And even the broadcast crews are calling it out every week, like this is where it starts going downhill. They need to not wait and sit for their good fortune to come to them. They got to take it against the Raiders on Sunday.
The Cardinals, another team that needs to start winning as soon as possible. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. A great place to start would be against their division foe in the Seattle Seahawks. Locked On Cardinals gives you the keys to beating the NFC West leaders.
The Arizona Cardinals offense needs to shine if the Cardinals want to beat the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. I'm Alex Clancy with Locked On Cardinals. The Cardinals offense in Seattle a couple weeks ago scored 3 points with 10 minutes and 40 seconds left in the first quarter and didn't score again. They've had an upgrade since then. DeAndre Hopkins back, 22 catches and over 250 yards in the 2 games played since coming back from suspension. But if the Arizona Cardinals want to avoid slipping to 3-6 and have more and more questions loom surrounding Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, and general manager Steve Keim, the offense needs to be center stage in a positive way and score a whole bunch of points against the Seattle Seahawks defense that is the proclivity this year to give up a lot of points, even though not recently. This offense and team goes as Kyler Murray goes. And on Sunday, Cliff Kingsbury needs to put together a game plan that will yield his players to put up points if the Cardinals want to avoid slipping to 3-6. To check out all Arizona Cardinals news you want and need, you can check me out Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube.
Justin Herbert and company are going to hope to keep the Chargers above 500, but they are missing some serious weapons on offense this week. The Falcons could be getting Cordarrelle Patterson back this week as well. Locked On Chargers and Falcons preview that matchup in Atlanta.
If the Chargers want to beat the Falcons on Sunday, their run defense has to be better than it was before the bye. This is Daniel Wade from Locked On Chargers, and that truly is the key for the Chargers in this one because the Falcons come in as the 5th best rushing attack in the league, and they're very committed to it. So much so that they've actually ran the ball 90 more times than they've thrown the ball this year in 2022, something you almost never see in the NFL. And the Chargers have been poor against it, mostly because of the explosive plays they've allowed on the ground. They've given up 4 rushes of 50-plus yards so far this year and 5 rushes of 40-plus yards in 2022. And the Chargers' run defense in 2021 did come together and get a little bit better, got the run fits figured out over the bye week. We'll have to see if they can get it done this week because they're going to need it. Offensively, they could be without Mike Williams and Keenan Allen for this one. The Chargers and Brandon Staley better cook up a plan defensively or it's going to be a long game. But for the full game breakdown, make sure you're checking out the Locked On Chargers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Pounding it down the Chargers' throat is the key to victory for the Falcons in Week 9. I'm Aaron Freeman, host of Locked On Falcons. The Falcons sport the NFL's 5th-ranked rushing offense, and this week they will face the LA Chargers, who sport the NFL's 27th-ranked rushing defense. It's our strength against their weakness, and the goal for the Falcons will be to exploit that as much as possible by running it down the Chargers' throat. Racking up 200 yards on the ground is certainly achievable for this Falcons offense. They've already done it twice this season, and the Chargers have given up that many yards rushing twice as well. So pounding the rock, winning the time of possession battle should limit that Chargers offense, expose their struggling defense, and lead the Falcons to victory come Sunday. For more coverage of this Week 9 matchup, follow Locked On Falcons, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
On Monday Night Football, the Ravens are going to face off against the Saints in New Orleans, coming off a win over Tom Brady and the Bucs. Locked On Ravens looks at how Baltimore finishes Week 9 with a win.
The Baltimore Ravens defense must keep the New Orleans Saints offense in check in Week 9. This is Kevin Ostreicher, the host over at Locked On Ravens. The Saints come into this game ranked as the number 7 pass offense in net yards per attempt and the number 8 rush offense in yards per attempt. So being able to hold down Andy Dalton in that Saints offense will be very, very important for a defense that just added Roquan Smith, has others like Patrick Queen, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, the hopeful return of Calais Campbell, and some of these other guys as Baltimore's defense has really found their stride over the past couple of weeks. Defensive coordinator Mike McDonald has been really good at making in-game adjustments recently, which I think has propelled Baltimore to their 2 straight victories. On the offensive side of the ball, what offense are we going to see? Is it going to be the offense that we saw in the first half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 8, or is it going to be the second half offense? Hopefully we'll see the second half offense, which was dominant on the ground, sprinkled some passes in there too that were effective. The game plan against Tampa in Week 8 according to multiple players and coaches, was to be able to see what they could do against the very banged up Tampa secondary. But I think with the momentum that Baltimore has gained on the offensive side of the ball, especially after that second half dominant performance, they will be able to apply that to, again, a Saints defense that has talent all over. So it'll be an interesting matchup for sure. Another primetime matchup, 2 straight for Baltimore going up against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. For more on the Baltimore Ravens and their game against the Saints, be sure to follow the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
That's all for today on Locked On Game to Game NFL. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On NFL and your favorite team's podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.